On this week's episode of the Autohaus podcast.
And I just said to myself, you know what, like, I need to get my own fucking vision out, you know? Like, I need to do something that's, like, for me, and that I don't have to listen to feedback, and I don't have to change my thing because someone doesn't like it. It's like, I can just make whatever the fuck I want. I think this is dope. I hit post, and then I go back to my life.
This is the Autohaus podcast. Could you say your name and give yourself a short introduction?
Yeah, this is Landin Williams. I'm the pilot of the Squeeze AE86 and previous Forza Drifter.
I had to stop for a second before we continue introducing you. Previous Forza Drifter, let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's kind of how I got involved in all this whole game here. But I was like an avid Forza Drifter for over a decade doing videos with Turn 10. I worked at Turn 10 for a while. So yeah, that's kind of where I started in this whole mess.
So I'm not familiar with that. What is Forza drifting?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just people, get in the game and you build a car, you change the setup, and then you just kind of, do the same thing just virtually. But yeah, when I started, it was on Forza 1. So really, a long time ago, like early 2000s, I don't know exactly when. But yeah, the game wasn't really designed for it. No one really knew how to set up the cars for it. But yeah, just kept with it, did it for a really long time. And, it's always been a goal to kind of build a real car, but it's, as we'll get into, it's not easy.
Yeah, I'm sure, because I've always heard that the translating from, I guess, the digital world into a real car, right?
Yeah, it's like, with a game you have first of all, with the game, there's nothing on the line, right? There's no money on the line. There's not this cherished thing that you've just spent hours and hours building that you're then going to throw at a wall. So it's like that right out of the gate is a totally different experience with a real car. But then also there's just the tactile differences between using a controller, and basically translating all of that to your entire body, which I think, a lot of people don't realize, when you're drifting, every part of your body is doing something, both hands, both feet, your head, everything, everything's moving. And it's actually kind of hard to coordinate it, when you're learning, basically.
So sorry, yeah, that Forza really threw me for a loop, but why don't we continue introducing you? Yeah, a couple things. Matt Panic has told me that I needed to have you on the podcast for the longest time now. So first of all, I mean, thanks for the opportunity, man. And then the second thing, your YouTube videos as of late have been killing it right now.
Thank you. Yeah, that's my side hustle. That's actually my the main thing I do is video editing and video production. So, but thanks, man. I appreciate it. And sorry for blowing up your spot with a new topic that you weren't ready to talk about.
No, it's okay. I'm open to all topics.
Nice. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's, Matt has been instrumental, and I'm going to talk about him probably for 45 minutes out of the 1 hour, but he's really been instrumental to me. So, I'm stoked you guys connected, and, you've done a couple podcasts together, and stoked to be here. This is rad. It's cool to just geek out about 8.6s, man. I know we're going to get into that stuff too, but I'm in the camp.
So before we talk about your history with Matt, where are you from? And then talk about the meaning behind the name Squeeze 8.6.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm from, actually grew up in Ottawa, Canada, a little bit away from Seattle where I'm at now. Honestly, what brought me out here was a job opportunity to work for Turn 10. So it's kind of a long story, but I'll give you the brief summary. Basically, I made a YouTube video in Forza 1 on Fujimi Kaido, and I recreated an Initial D episode. So I used the cartoon inserts for the characters, and then I cut to Forza for the driving. And it just so happened that someone at Turn 10 saw this video on YouTube, and this is early days of YouTube when there's not a lot of content, so it's easier to get discovered. And he found the video, my email was in there, and he just kind of sent me an email just sort of being like, how did you even make this? And who are you? And why are you doing this? And yeah, I mean, the awesome part is my boss at the time, Che Chow, he was a huge Initial D fan himself. So it's just all of the all of the stars aligned for that, to be able to even be seen in the first place by someone that knows Initial D and actually like understood what the video was trying to do. It was pretty lucky. And then, yeah, that's kind of the second question about the Squeeze 8.6. Honestly, it just popped into my head one day. I wanted to kind of like brand the car. Just, I don't know. It's fun. It gives it a personality, a persona. And, I was thinking and it really, I don't have a really good story for it. Honestly, I woke up one day and I was like, Squeeze. Yeah, that sounds tight. And I was like, no one else is using that. And it played into the yellow on the car also. And
Yeah.
I think that was the link that really like sealed it for me, was that it tied in like thematically to the car. Yeah. And it's just like, it's like a cool word. It's just kind of, I don't know, it's fun to say. It kind of just rolls off your tongue. And I was like, yeah, that's clever. And, it's fun. So yeah, no real big epic grand story for Squeeze. Car was yellow and Squeeze is a cool word. So I just went with it.
So something that might have got glossed over earlier, you said your old boss was Jay Chow. Is that the actor?
No.
Oh.
No. He actually was on he was kind of big in the gaming space. So he was on like the 1UP show. I don't know if you're a gamer or not, but for the gamers out there, they'll remember that 1UP show. So yeah, he's not an actor. He probably could be. He's a super smart guy, but no, different Jay Chow.
Okay. So how did you get your start into Corollas or drifting in the first place? Drifting in a car, not in the video game.
Yeah, so we'll skip over all the Initial D hoopla and watch Initial D and then like playing the game for, like 10 years. We'll fast forward ahead and, I was working at Turn 10. I really wanted to buy a car. And it just so happened that this gray 8.6 hatchback GTS was up for sale. And I had just enough money in my savings that it was, I could get it without totally, dive bombing myself. And I think it was like $5,000 back then, which was a lot. It still is a lot. But as you know, with prices now, it's like a GTS is definitely not $5,000.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But, it was a big amount of money. And so I had already kind of been into the 8.6s from Initial D. That was the way that, I love the underdog story. I love like the low horsepower, aggressive driving, like just go as fast as you can, take down cars that have more power than you. Like, I just love that whole story. So I was already into it and I just kind of pulled the trigger on this hatchback. Had a 16 valve in it. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was getting into. It ran for, a decent amount of time and then stuff starts happening and things stop working and things break. And it's kind of this tipping point where you're like, do I continue down this path? And I'm sure every single 8.6 owner out there has been there where you're just like, is this worth it? I could get stuck on the side of the road at any point. And this was the only car I had. So it was my daily for a long time, and it's just like, yeah, you could get trapped, you could get stuck. And, I struggled a lot, eventually got a 20 valve swap done on the car. I didn't do it myself. I still didn't really know much about it. And, through a connection, like a shared friend, Ian Dillon, who's the factory 83, but through a mutual friend, he connected me with Matt Panic. And I just have to be honest, Matt was the guy that opened the gates for me in terms of, just giving me the confidence, showing me, he helped me swap the car again. So he kind of took it upon himself to help me out. I don't know why he was so generous. But we became really, really good friends over the course of a couple of years. And I was just like a sponge. I was just like, okay, what does this do? Or how do you do this? Or, what is this setting? Or, just at any point, just trying to ask him, what he knows. And as you already know, he's like an encyclopedia for cars, specifically 8.6s and Toyotas and, classic Toyotas. So yeah, he really kind of gave me the confidence to do it. Part of the challenge in doing it is that I fell in love with the first car that I bought. I was like, I really don't want to thrash this thing. It's in really good shape. It still has its original paint. There's no dents. Like the frame's good. Everything's clean on it. And I just really didn't want to, smash it up. And So it took me a while, and I was hesitating, and you have to save up. And I was like, man, maybe I should go drift it. And I took this car, the original car, out. It's a gray and black two-tone GTS hatch. Took it out to the track a few times, but I just never felt comfortable diving in all the way with like the only 8.6 that I had. Mm-hmm. I was like, in the back of my mind, I'm saying, okay, I need to get another car. And so, that process just takes a while. You got to save, you got to find one. So I eventually came across a yellow and black Panda coupe. It was actually on the East Coast, and the price was great. It was a shell. It was an owner that is super well known in the community. His name's Anthony Martinez. Shout out, Anthony. Thank you for selling me this car. It's been exciting for me. But yeah, so that's sort of, I guess, the quick summary about, just that transition from being a nerd in video games to like actually trying it.
So do you currently have both Corollas under your ownership still? Yes.
Yeah. Still have them. I will never sell them. Doesn't matter. I'll be 80 years old. I'll be driving this Corolla around. So I'm locked in like at this point. And I've actually, collected a couple others now. Just, it happens, man. It happens. They just start to multiply.
Collect a couple others. So you have more than two.
Yeah.
Oh my God. How many are you allowed to say?
Yeah. I mean, it's, I'm pretty private, I don't really post a lot about them, but yeah, I have, basically 4.5 currently.
Interesting.
So the fifth one is a shell. So that one kind of doesn't count. That's like a half a Corolla. And I just recently picked up another GTS shell that I'm just, at this point, my thought process is you got to act now. If you want to get one of these cars, you just got to act now, because it's not going, the prices aren't going down. So, and I just moved to a new house that has a little bit more space. And I just decided, you know what, like a couple $1,000s now to get this shell is going to be a $10,000 shell. So I might as well just act now. So yeah, I'm up to 6 now. So there you go.
Hey, and you're absolutely right about that. Like how many people in person or guests I've had in the podcast that have told me like the prices are only going up. We don't know when they're ever going to stop going up, and then they're not making any more. Toyota doesn't have plans for a restoration program for these. So it's like the odds are all against us right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a little bit of a glint of hope with the new GTR program that Nissan announced, which is pretty crazy, even though it's like $500,000 to get one. But, there's hope. I feel like the community is so strong that I feel like, Toyota obviously knows that there's so many people passionate. They created the FRS, and that was like a direct nod to the 8.6. So, if we just keep banging down the doors, maybe they'll answer one day.
Yeah, definitely hope so, man.
Yeah. How about yourself? I want to know a little bit about you. I know your listeners, they already know your story, but yeah, what's up with you? I know you're an 8.6 Corolla guy.
Yeah. So I guess where do I even start with that? Where would you like me to start from with that story?
That's a whole other podcast. Yeah, I don't know. Like, just how did you get into it? And yeah, I don't know. Just give me like the quick rundown, I guess, of your time with these beautiful, annoying cars.
Love-hate relationship. More hate than love. We hate to admit that, but more hate than love. And
true. Yeah.
So I can kind of sum up my story like this, because there's always this stigma about like the Initial D fanboy. Well, unfortunately, I am the Initial D fanboy.
Same, bro. Same. It's no stigma. Anyone that's saying that that's a stigma is a dinosaur. They need to get over it.
Oh, man. I'm glad you said it.
Yeah, I'll say it. Yeah.
I work with a marketing and media employee here, and she was asking me like, oh, have you seen like this and this option video? Remember when this happened? And I had to like kind of pause and tell her like, hey, I actually bought the car because of the anime. I didn't grow up on like option videos and stuff. Yeah.
Same. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Did you grow up in Cali, or where did you grow up?
Yeah, I grew up in California. My intro to Initial D, for some reason, our local public library had all the manga in English translation, and I was hooked because I think they were in English, but the books opened backwards the other way.
Oh yeah, it had that feel to it. Something was different about this.
Yeah, something was different, and there was like, they were like kids, and they were doing like exciting stuff, and like everything about that just like sucked me in.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's the thing when people look down on it. It's like it's really good. Like, I'm sorry, but it's very good. The storytelling is good. Like, the characters are interesting. The way that they like slowly introduce the car and the 86, and it's kind of, I don't know. I thought it was cool that you're following along with someone that's kind of like doesn't even really know what's going on, and they're just like, they don't really even care, and it's just like a car. I just think that was such a cool hook, because obviously all the viewers are in the same boat. Like, we don't know what this thing is. Like, what is this 80s Corolla? Like, okay, and so I feel it, man. I feel it. It's like, it's such a captivating story, and I think, I don't know. I don't know why people look down on it. Maybe they're just mad because it was like niche underground, and then all of a sudden it became popular, and now the prices are going up, and they're all like, oh, if only nobody knew about it.
Oh man.
But it's like, well, if no one knew about it, then would it be as cool as it is? Like, I don't think so. At least that's my perspective. Like, especially being someone that's kind of, in the grand scheme of things, a pretty new to the Corolla scene person, especially for drifting and building a drift car. Like, would I have built the Squeeze A6 without Initial D? Like, it wouldn't have happened. So it's like, I don't know. It's cool. I'm very much like a big fan. I have no issues, shouting from the rooftops. It's like, let's demystify Initial D, y'all.
So something we kind of have in common with our Corolla histories was that I bought the car for the anime. I planned to never modify it to like an extreme extent and just have it as like a restoration daily driver. But my turning point was my first full track day. And then everything went downhill from there, or uphill, however you want to think about it. But like total 180 once I did my first track day.
Yeah. What was it? Was it like a open drift day, or like an autocross event, or?
So full open track day at Laguna Seca. I jumped 2 feet in.
Oh, wow. Damn. Yeah. Lagunas, that must be awesome. And what was your car? Was it like a 16 valve, like just kind of stock, or what was the build?
I built that engine. It's the same engine that's still in the car. It's a cammed 16 valve, but I mean, everything else about the car was really pretty, not quite up to what should have been to spec for the track, right?
Not you weren't ready for the corkscrew.
I think like the instructor he looked at my tires, and I was like, oh, they make it. Those are getting long in the tooth. They make a new model of those already.
Nice. Well, we all got to start somewhere, we all got to start somewhere. So that's awesome. And then after that, it was just game over. You were hooked.
Yeah. Definitely after that first track day, it became like a deep dive into like the rest of the culture beyond the anime, right? So like the motorsports, what are people doing in other countries? What are people even doing around me, right? Like before then, I had never participated in my local Corolla community.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's so intriguing. There's just so many intriguing things about this car. And yeah, the history, the legacy, the heritage, like all the drivers, all the D1 drivers. Because I'm in the same camp. I didn't grow up on option videos. I was a kid in Canada, trying not to freeze my ass off in the wintertime. Like there's no option videos. Like, it just didn't exist. I was lucky enough that I was actually in a Honda Civic crew. That's how I got into Initial D. I had my little 2001 Honda Civic. It was so slow and so depressing, but I worked with what I had,
Yeah.
I worked with what I had. I learned a little bit about cars. I got kind of into it. And someone on the team was like, yo, there's this new like anime that you got to see. And I don't even think it was new. I think it had already came out, but it was new to all of us. And we would get together like every weekend and binge watch episodes like together. It was like a team viewing experience. Like, we wouldn't watch it without the whole squad there. And it just, it was just addicting. But I feel you, that there's such a huge other side to the spectrum. And I'm happy that I got the intro to it, because who knows,
Yeah, exactly. So speaking on that, what is your local community like up there in the Pacific Northwest?
So the Pacific Northwest, I think, is starting to become, well, it's not starting to become. I feel like it's always been a bit of a hub for Corollas, just because they're more available here. I don't know what it is about the Pacific Northwest. I'm sure Matt would go off on a tangent and tell us everything about why there's more of them here than anywhere else. Um, but yeah, the community here is awesome. Like, you know, it's very much people that are super passionate. And over the years I've actually made like really really good friends with the other Corolla drivers in the area, not just because we have Corollas, like just because we enjoy each other's company.
Mm.
um so there's a lot of people that I've connected with now that yeah, like we're homies now, like we're best friends. So you'll see, like in the last video I dropped, we kind of had that 8-6 party, and it was like, that was, I'd say that was one of the coolest days for me. Just everyone was out, like, the folks from Portland, like Mitch and Miles, and Joseph was there, and Alex Weeder, and like just, Sean was there, SBK. I'm just going to drop these are all the Pacific Northwest 8-6 dudes that I chill with and hang with.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we were all there, and it's, you know, it's supportive. We help each other out. We share information. And it's a great community, even beyond just drifting too. Like, I think the show community is pretty solid, and there's like a lot of nice builds out here that are just like restored really well. Like to your point, it's not like an extreme modification. It's just like a nice, restoration. So yeah, I feel like I've been fortunate to really come into contact with a lot of solid people out here. Just through the years, like you have to meet people in order to learn, or in order to find parts. You end up just meeting everyone because you're like, oh, I need that piece of plastic that this one guy has, and I'm going to drive an hour and a half to go pick up this little piece that I need. And then you get there, and then there's some other piece, and you're like, whoa, I didn't even know that existed.
And I would totally agree with that. So to build on that point, I know I've talked with someone previously on the podcast about meeting in person and making friends in the community is almost a necessity now, because of two big things on my mind. Is there's no more forums pretty much. And also the Facebook groups are, I don't want to just drop the F bomb, but yeah, the Facebook groups are a clusterfuck more often than not. So, which pretty much leaves you to, you got to make friends and meet the community in real life.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I definitely spent a lot of time on hr.net back in the day when that was a thing, and Club 4AG. Shout out to both, the peeps who put those together, because that was like the foundation, I think. And like, even though that stuff is gone, like you can still search for the wiring diagrams, or you could still search for like, what color wire do I need to connect to the headlight motor, or where's the relay, or, just all these little dumb facts. And it seems like that was really the foundation. Those people, they built a place for us to share that information. And, but then, if we're going to talk about Facebook, like, I love Facebook. I love that I can always have a feed of Corolla things that are available at any given time. That's like the greatest thing for me. You used to have to troll for sale threads, and you'd miss out on them if you didn't like stay on there 24 hours a day. So I think that Facebook is still helping. What I think is like damaging is just like, just like the trolling and like just the general demeanor. But like, that's just the internet, man. Like, and you go into any comment thread on any post, and it's just a disaster. And I don't think that it's just unique to 8-6s. Like, I just think that's just how the internet is. People just troll people. They want to just get a rise out of you. They want to like get you to comment back and like get you all fired up. And so I guess for me personally, I just take it for what it's worth, and I take it for what it's good at, which is helping me find parts, helping me just kind of keep tabs on like new products that people are making that I might be into. So, I just kind of, I stay 1 foot in, 1 foot out on Facebook, I guess.
That's good, man. You seem to be a pretty positive person with this positive outlook.
Yeah. I mean, that's, why are we getting worked up over a hobby? Like, this is a luxury. This is a luxury item. Like having an old car and having it still work and being able to put money into it is a luxury. So it's like, I'm not gonna say I'm the most positive person in the world. We all have our ups and downs, but when it comes to 8.6s, I mean, like if the energy, like being at the track, like when I'm at the track, I'm just like a wild animal. I'm just running around, hugging people, high-fiving, like going crazy, like, chasing people down after a good lap and just laughing and having a great time. And it brings the passion out, man. Like you're pushing all the buttons right now. You're getting me all fired up. It's important to just have perspective, that it's this is still a luxury. And I think we should all just be fortunate and be stoked that we have this thing that makes us happy. Like a lot of people don't have that. They don't have any outlet for their creativity or for their like energy. And it's like, I think it's, we're lucky. Car folks, they're generally, I think, very lucky. Anyways, I'll stop preaching, man.
No, you know what? I completely agree with you, and I'm glad that really brings like a fresh perspective.
Yeah, it's easy to get like caught up in the flaming or like just flaming. That totally dates me, just saying the word flaming. Like like I'm immediately like over 30 years, easy. But yeah, it's easy to get caught up in that and like caught up in like people asking for ridiculous prices and like flipping things for crazy prices. And it can be frustrating if you're looking for a part and you need it and you find it and then it's like someone's just gouging you. Like it sucks. It's a bummer, and I try to do my part. Like if someone needs a part that I have, just take it, man. Give me a couple bucks. I'm not going to try to get the most out of this. Like this is not how I make my money. I have a job for that, and I just, it would be cool if more people took that approach, but it's just like collecting sneakers. It's just like anything of value, people are going to find a way to profit. Yep. And that's just like, that's America, that's capitalism. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know what you want. It's not going anywhere.
So talk about your own personal Corolla, the Squeeze 8.6 yellow Corolla you have now. I see a lot of driving videos, but I don't think I've ever seen like a build breakdown of that car. So talk about some of the vehicle specs.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty standard. There's nothing fancy with it, but I mean, where do I start? I started off with it was a Panda two-tone yellow and black, kind of a bumblebee look. And I threw a stock 20 valve in it and just started clutch kicking. And that was a long road, and that's where I really kind of started to get more comfortable. I drove a lot at Pat's Acres, which is like a super technical track. And it's like to drive a super technical track with low horsepower is even harder.
Yeah. And
so it takes a long time to get comfortable because you have to go fast. There's no powering out of stuff. There's no mashing the throttle to start drifting. It's like you have to be drifting on your entry or you're not drifting. So yeah, I just spent a lot of time at Pat's Acres. But anyways, I'm getting distracted. Build breakdown. What do you want? Do you want the current version or like the iterations? How do you want me to approach it?
Yeah, I would say the biggest during the car's history, like the milestone changes and then where the car is right now.
Okay. So stock 20V, clutch kicked it like crazy. Eventually I blew it up. I blew up a ring and pinion. I blew up a transmission. What else did I break? I started breaking a lot of stuff on it. And then eventually the motor just went out and it was like, okay, this is like rebuild time. So that's when I kind of went with I had this idea like the Squeeze 8.6 and this whole nitrous idea. Cause it's like, squeeze, nitrous. It was like another layer to that story. So that was the next phase, so I worked with Excessive and they helped me do the nitrous setup on the 20V, which, it was short-lived. It didn't last the abuse. I drive pretty hard. I bang rev limiter all the time. Like I'm not out here to be nice. If my engine blows, it blows. But like my foot's planted and it's like, it's going to do what it's going to do. It's either going to work or it's not. And the nitrous didn't really work out long-term. And, I was kind of at a crossroads of like, well, what do I really want? Do I want a really flashy build that I can be like, yo, I got NOS and it's crazy. Look at the bottle, blah, blah, blah. Do I really want all that? Or do I just want to be able to drive my car like a madman and like get better and get seat time? You know, I'm not in this to build cars. I'm in it to drive the car. Like building is just the task you have to do. It's like the barrier of entry, but that's not the main reason I'm here. Like I'm not here to just be in my garage building. Like I'm trying to learn to be a good driver, you know? So that's when I decided, and I chatted with Matt, and he just was like, you know what, like, let's just put a beams in this thing. I'll have a little bit more power. It was kind of the graduation, I guess, from the 20V, you know, and Matt talks about that a lot. Like if I had started with the beams, I don't think that I would be the same driver. You know, I think having to struggle, having to learn how to overcome low horsepower issues, and you got to adjust your line, you got to adjust your approach. Like it just takes a little bit more fine control, I think, to really like make smoke with a 20V. Like if you can make smoke with a 20 valve, like you're a god, you know? And so it just like, you know, I really paid my dues with that. And it was at a point where it was like, all right, let's graduate up, you know? So we put a beams in there, and that's what's in there now. So once I catch my breath, because I'm talking a lot and I'm talking really fast, I'll tell you about the beams that's in here.
Really quick, to interrupt you before we hear about the beams. So a couple points that I thought were really interesting. So technical track being tough on a momentum car for drifting, but that's opposite for grip driving, where high horsepower cars suffer in technical. But yeah, for grip, a momentum car loves a technical track. So I thought that was really interesting. It's like opposite.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, sorry, you were about to say something. I totally cut you off.
No worries, no worries. And then the other point I was thinking about power is so the podcast that hasn't released yet, but will when we release this one with Matt. He was saying he met John Yim, who has a SR20 Corolla, the John Yim special Corolla, and I met John before in Texas, and he was like, yeah, I feel kind of bad because with this SR, with all the power, I get kind of lazy when I drive now.
Yeah, definitely for me, when I first got the beams, I had to fight against that, because you can just, and it's not like 200 horsepower is like oodles of power, like, you know what I mean? But when you go from 150 to 200, that's a big increase, you know, that's a 25% increase from where you were. And the torque, I think, is the big differentiating factor too. But yeah, I noticed that like I wasn't flicking as hard, and I was later on the throttle. Like I would wait longer to get on the throttle, whereas with the 20 valve, like the throttle was never off the ground. Like,
has to be that way.
Yeah, so I just like that transition, I think it definitely took me a while to kind of, because you really, I mean, you can't drive it the same. Like you have to lift sometimes with the beams. Like you can't be fully in it, or you're going to spin, or you're going to be going way too fast and like fly off the track. So like you have to learn how to balance it, you know, and be aggressive, but also like it was just like, you know, maybe 15% less aggression with the driving, but also, you know, like with the beams, it's allowed me to drive on bigger tracks. You know, like I went to Spokane and was drifting in third and fourth gear, which I can't imagine trying to do that with the 20V. Like it was terrifying with the beams. Like that track, you know, made me feel like my car still had a 20 valve in it, just because of how big the corners are. But yeah, I mean, it definitely, you know, you have to change your driving style, but what I've tried to do is just not get too lazy about it. And, you know, just remember that's what makes the 8.6 cool, in my opinion. You know, super high horsepower 8.6, I think they're cool, but I don't think they're as cool, because I don't think that it represents what the car is about. And maybe that's my initial D nerd hat, you know, speaking, because it's like, oh, the underdog, and, you know, he's beating all these RX-7s and all these crazy cars. But I don't know. I mean, I think that's what this car has turned into culturally, whether you like it or not. It's kind of this underdog. It's like, it's not super modern. It doesn't have fancy stuff on it. Everything's manual. And I just, to me, that's what makes it special. Like when you see an 8.6 come flying into a corner, and you're at red line and the ITBs are screaming and your clutch kicking and you're just hucking the shit out of it to like clear the corner. That's cool. Like, for me, I wouldn't have it any other way. And I don't think that I will ever drive another car, to be honest. I think I'm locked in with these. I don't feel the need to like drive a crazy horsepower car. And maybe it's, the Beams car was the fastest car I've ever driven. So it's like, I don't know what I'm missing, but I'm cool with missing it because I'm just stoked with what I got.
So talk about your engine setup.
Yeah, so it's the standard Beams stock with the 20 valve ITBs, pretty much all of the bolt-in Beams parts that now exist thanks to Matt and Mark for building this market pretty much. But so it's all the kind of factory bolt-in beam stuff. I have a one-piece excessive drive shaft aluminum, which is nice, definitely lightweight. And then running a Link ECU with a tune from Mark Panic, who's a wizard. I wouldn't trust anyone else. I think a lot of us do. But yeah, it's very basic. It's not super flashy. I'm running the OS Geiken clutch, which is great. Grips up nice, gives you a lot of clutch kick ability. But yeah, as far as the beam setup, it's very much the normal setup that everyone has. The subframe spacers, custom header that my boy Tyler put together, which I'm stoked on. But really it's pretty basic. It's really not that fancy. And that's kind of by design. Again, fancy things give you fancy problems, man. So I'm just trying to, I went down that road. I had the nitrous. I was running back and forth to the shop, fill the bottle, come back. You got to cool the bottle before they fill it. So now I got an ice chest and a nitrous bottle, and I'm driving through traffic trying to get to this place. They fill up the bottle. You come back with the bottle. Now you got to travel with the bottle. Then you got to change it out at the track with your tires. So you're changing tires and nitrous bottles and all this shit. And I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, this is stupid. I can just put a beams in and go drive and not have to do any of this bullshit. So I went down that path, and then I was like, you know what? I want something that I'm going to be able to do 50 events a year and just bang on it, get better. And, after I've put the beams in, knock on wood, I think, it's getting a little tired. It's probably got 30 events on it, but yeah, it's just worked, and it just does the thing. And, I've got a nice axle setup. So I'm running a Toyota truck axle. So it's a 7.5 in the back. So that's been solid. It hasn't wavered on me, which is, I've busted a lot of axles and diffs and stuff. So yeah, I've built it to a level where I think everything is matched up with each other, and nothing is overbuilt or nothing's underbuilt, I guess.
Two points that coincide with each other. So, when I get people who look at my car all the time, especially the engine bay, they'll ask like, why don't you do this swap, or why don't you put this, and this in it? And my response every time is like, exactly, to your point, simple is reliable. I can get in, I can start it every time, it'll run every time, and I can drive back home from an event every time. No nonsense, no fancy anything.
Yeah, no boost leaks, no couplers flying off. Like, I can't tell you how many times these turbo guys are at the track, like, oh, I got a boost leak, or my shit's not sealed. And it's just like, I respect it. I mean, I get it. It's cool. Like, don't get me wrong. I think high horsepower drifting is exciting. I mean, it's cool to see a car at full lock with the crazy angle kits, like making super duper amounts of smoke, just going crazy. But yeah, for me, it's a distraction.
Yeah.
Like, all that extra stuff, like filling nitrous bottles, like it just became a distraction. I'm driving to the track thinking about my goddamn nitrous bottles, not even like my driving or going to, what I'm about to go do. So yeah, I mean, I think to people, like to everyone out there, man, it's like you can get sucked into the cool gadgetry and this and that, but simple is best. And I have a new rule with my Corollas that if they run, I don't take them apart. Straight up. If it works, I'm driving it. I don't care if it has a little bit of a leak or something, obviously I'll fix easy stuff, but like, I'm not going to swap the motor just because I feel like it. It's like, if I have a running 20 valve, like, in the original car that I bought, I've been wanting to put a beams in it and like, maybe do a turbo beams, do something a little cooler for the street just to have a little bit more power to play around with. But I'm just like, why am I going to disassemble a working car? It sounds stupid. It doesn't sound like a good choice. So yeah, I think we both kind of vibe on that, man, which is, it's funny. I think and maybe the 8.6 community is a little bit more simple in general, but it's cool to hear that I'm not the only one out there.
And the other part of that is listening to you talk about both your build style and your driving style is like, I almost feel like you're apprenticing under Matt Panic Sensei, because like all this stuff, like I can connect the dots from what he says. I mean, just the last conversation I had with him, he was like, yeah, I don't plan to change the chassis at all. I mean, it does what I want. It works.
Yeah, no, man, he is a super smart guy, and I give him all the credit for how I've approached this and just how I think about it, because every time my car would break, it would sort of be like this huge issue. Now it's like, oh man, I can't go drive, I got to figure out what to do, and it just takes the wind out of your sails. And I think that's why people's builds don't get finished, is because they get so caught up in all these things, and then it's like it never happens, or you go out and drive it and it blows up. Like, what's the worst thing that you could possibly do is like spend 6 months building a car and then blow it up on the first day, right? Like that's like a morale nuclear bomb going off. Like, you're done.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, like, the other side of it too is Matt is like the hardest working guy I've ever met, and when he works on a car, he works on the damn car. He's not fucking around. He's not having a beer, dicking around with shit. It's like, if he wants to take his clutch out, 2 hours later, his clutch is out. Like, it's just like, bang, 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 get this, okay, doom, boom, get the drive shaft off, bang, like, take this off, get the tranny off, boom, drain it. You know what I mean? And it's just like on it, on it, on it, on it. And I think that mentality is like, I don't know how to describe it, but, don't forget what your goal is. Your goal is to drive this thing. It's not to sit in the shop fucking around, at least for me, and then, obviously for him. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting how like the build process can get very frustrating, and like sometimes it never makes it. A lot of cars never see the light of day.
Yeah. And to your point, Matt, I think he told me he'll do between like 20 and 30 events a year.
Yeah.
Sorry, give me 1 second. There's somebody like,
yeah, no worries.
Like revving the crap out of their car outside. So
no worries.
Yeah.
I guess that's related.
Yeah. So the bad part about, I guess the tough part for podcasting for me is that because our shop is so small that our customer waiting rooms, also our lunch room, and also the podcast room, also the front door. And then like our where we're at in the Bay Area, this is like the last stronghold for like performance automotive shops in the area. So yeah, a lot of times we'll have like walking distance from us is like, the quote unquote donut zone.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, yeah, no, it's all good, man. It sounds like you guys got a cool thing going over there. So I'll have to come, swing by at some point if I'm, in the area, and just check it out.
Oh, yeah. Up. Yeah. Of course, man. Yeah. We'd love to have you by. Yeah. Maybe you can coordinate with Matt. Matt, seems like he had a great time last time too, and he's been wanting to come back and visit.
Yeah. No, we'll figure it out. I think Showdown 3 is coming up soon, and I'm going to be heading down to Tucson for that. So like maybe on our way down or on our way back or something, we can make that work.
That's
That'd
right.
Be sick.
That's right. Showdown at Muscleman. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So,
but yeah, where were we? I forgot what we were talking about.
Oh,
Corollas. Yeah. 8.6s. Why are we doing this? Like, why are we here?
So, we're getting, pretty close to our 10-minute mark, and I want to, give you an opportunity to kind of, shout out or spotlight some of your stuff as well.
Well, I've shouted out Matt and Mark enough, but I'm just going to do it again. Thank you guys. You guys know what's up. You helped me out when I didn't really know what was going on. And, it's paid off for me. Like, I've really learned a lot, and I'm able to drift, and that's like a lifelong dream of mine. So thank you guys. Appreciate that. I have to give a huge shout out to Factory 83 on this. My boy Ian is a mad scientist, and when he we originally started talking about doing a livery, and in the back of my head, I was like, man, I don't even think I'm a good enough driver for all this. Like I need to like stay in the shadows a bit and learn before I come out with something flashy that's like drawing everyone's attention and expecting you to be killer driver, But he kind of wore me down, and we just talked about it, and talked to Matt about it. And he was like, you know what, just go for it, man. Like, you're good. You're good enough. You can own it. So yeah, I mean, Factory 83, he did the livery design. He came up with the two-tone silver and yellow, which, obviously has roots in the Corolla world, like the UAO cars of the past. And then there's a couple others that have that look to it. But he really, like, he took it to another level with the silver on the flares and on the side skirts, which I don't think I had seen before until this car. So Factory 83 is a genius. Panic, they helped me out. I definitely, TF Dave and TF Works and Stance Suspension, got to give them a shout out too. I'm running the Stance coilovers, and they're super rad. So, you guys should definitely check those out. Oh man, I'm going to fuck this up and forget to shout out people.
Oh, you're all right.
Yeah. I mean, Spirit Peaks, I got to give a shout out to Spirit Peaks. I've been doing a lot of driving there, and, that's where I actually got really confident driving, which is because there's so much space and it's close to where I live. So shout out to them. And, Chris at Park is rad. And, the Excessive crew helped me out a lot in the early stages. So I got to thank them as well. And yeah, I guess for me personally, I just, the little squeeze videos I'm super stoked on. So, if you want to see more of like me doing my thing and getting hype and, getting in people's faces and just doing dumb shit, you can just check it out on YouTube or Instagram, wherever. But yeah, I'm stoked that it's something that people are into, and that it's kind of, it's reached people, and that's cool. I want it to be seen, and I want people to appreciate it and enjoy it, and just like enjoy cars. And that's what it's about, is just sharing your passion. So, and I got a shout out to you, man, for bringing me on here and like giving me a chance, like a platform. I know we've never met in person, but I really get a great vibe from you. I think you're doing an awesome thing with this podcast, and just kind of, keeping the vibe alive. I think that's important as like new people get into these cars. Like, I want to make sure, and I think you do too, is like, I want them to have a good experience. I want them to like be able to maybe walk in our footsteps and like do the thing that I did, like come from Forza and then start driving in real life and, get pretty good at it or whatever. Like, I don't want people to be shied away, or like, cause some stupid idiot posted this dumb comment, like now they've lost that spark, so yeah, shout out to you, man, keeping the dream alive.
Well, I sincerely appreciate it. And parallel story, talk about the recent video work. Like, what inspired you to do this? What inspired you to push so hard with like all this top tier content on YouTube? That's absolutely great. I mean, I'll say it over and over again.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you. You know what? It honestly started as I put GoPros in my car because I wanted to watch myself drive. It really wasn't for like display. It was just, it's a learning tool. Like, I can't tell you how valuable it is to be able to go do an event and then come home and watch the footage and like see what you're doing and be like, oh, okay, that's interesting. In these scenarios, I'm like, I keep reaching for the e-brake. Like, that's honestly, it's still a habit that I'm trying to kick, is, just that instinct to kind of be like, oh, my e-brake's there just in case, and I've had to fight against it. And I think by watching the footage, I was like, stop it. Like, stop reaching for the e-brake. Like, you don't need it. Like, you don't need it. Stop it. Just stay in it. And so, yeah, really, it started out just kind of like assembling memories, honestly. And that's the thing for me, is that like, I try to cut them as like what my memory of that event is like, so some videos are kind of slow and a little bit more like down tempo and lo-fi, and like that was just like my vibe on that day, and I try to just like capture that in the videos. But really, to be totally honest, I do it for my friends and for us, because these are our memories, man. Like, these are the moments that we're going to cherish, and like being able to go back and watch something is like, I'm going to be 80 years old just binge watching squeeze videos and like, remembering all these moments and memories. And like, that's something you can't overlook also, is just the experience that drifting has given me, and just like being able to travel, not being able to travel, of course, I could travel otherwise, but it's just like forcing you to travel and go see new things and overcome obstacles and figure out how to trailer your car, and just all of the adventures that come with trailering to an event, across the country or whatever it is. Like it's always an adventure. There's always a story. I used to drive my car to the track, and I would drive 3 hours down to park and then drift all day and then drive 3 hours home. And it's like, if it's raining, oh shit, my wipers don't work. Okay, well, here we are. So figure it out. Or, hey, I've had my exhaust fall off on my way home from a track day. And so it's like, all right, here we are. Get the jack out, jack the car up, like zip tie this exhaust up so that I can drive it home. Like, so just, I know everyone has had these experiences. And actually, just a funny story is that's one of the ways that I really got close with Matt, is that I was driving back from a park event, and this was when I was just shooting media. So I kind of, we skipped over a lot of that, but I shot a lot of media for a long time. And so anyways, I'm driving back and I see a Celica on the side of the road, and I was like, what the fuck is Matt's car? What's going on? So I slow down, and I'm in the right lane, and I'm like trying to see where he's at. And I see him walking at a very brisk Matt Panic pace to the nearest rest stop. And I pull over and I'm like, what's up, dude? And he was just like, oh my God, like, thank you. Like, he was kind of in this spot where, he had to figure out a solution. And so what had happened is his wheel bearing caught on fire because whatever reason. So his wheel bearing caught on fire. He pulls the car over, rips it off, and obviously the bearing's fucked and you can't use it. You can't drive on it. So anyways, the rest of the day we spent trying to find him a wheel bearing. We found one and drove around for 4 hours, fixed it on the side of the road. He didn't have a front brakes because he couldn't get the brake caliper back on, or for whatever reason. So he drove home with his hydro, made it work, drove slow, made it home safe. And, those stories that's what makes this sport so much more than just like, it's just not easy. It's so hard to go drifting. It's so many steps and like so much work and energy and effort. And it, it's just always an adventure. So for me, the videos are like, I want to capture those adventures. I want to be able to remember them. And, over time, just people were into it. They're like, man, these are fun to watch. Like, it's fun to watch you guys do your thing. And so I just started to put a little more effort into it. I've been editing professionally for, almost over 15 years now. And I spent hundreds of thousands of hours, maybe not that many, but spent thousands of hours making videos for other people and like getting their vision down and, helping them get their vision out. And I just said to myself, you know what, like I need to get my own fucking vision out, I need to do something that's like for me, and that I don't have to listen to feedback and I don't have to change my thing because someone doesn't like it. It's like, I can just make whatever the fuck I want. I think this is dope. I hit post and then I go back to my life, and it's just cool. I'm really appreciative of everyone out there, like, just for embracing it and being cool with it and thinking it's fun. It's kind of energized me. And I was like, okay, like let's step this up. Let's take it to the next level.
Awesome. Well said, man. Well, before we wrap up, where can we find you? Shout out your social. Where can we watch your videos?
Yeah, so squeeze.86 on Instagram. That's like the best place you can be. I post all the videos and stuff there. But if you're on YouTube, it's squeeze86 on YouTube as well. So that's really it, keeping it simple.
Awesome, man. Well, I just want to thank you so much again for speaking on the podcast and, agreeing to be on here. Yeah, man, I really hope we can meet in person. You can see the shop. Maybe you and Matt will come to the shop and we can all hang out, man. That'd be great.
Yeah, no, I'm there. You said donut spot, so you had me. I'm like, let's go. Nice. Thanks for having me, man. This was great. And you guys are doing killer work with this. So yeah. I really appreciate it.
That's it for this week's episode. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, as reviews really help support us. you can do it straight from your desktop. Don't even need an Apple device. This is Autohaus Z. Thanks for all the support, you guys.